So I need y'all to get on in here with this one because I have questions, concerns, and complete puzzlement regarding this entire story. This story has more holes than a fishing net in a catch and release tournament. I am completely befuddled. Scoot up for a second and let's talk. Yo, DJ, roll that beautiful champagne footage. Welcome to Champagne Secrets with Empress, where the bubbles are crisp, the secrets are smoother than silk, and the gossip flows like the finest champagne. So grab your glass, darlings. Let the corks pop, the laughter bubble, and the tea spill. Here, we sip sophistication and spill secrets with style. So hang out with us in the secret chalet and enjoy the chicest, sassiest, and bubbliest gossip hour on YouTube. Everyone has an opinion. This is mine. So grab your glasses and let's toast, my confidants, to the streets that never sleep and to the secrets running deep. Oh, my champagne shit. Yes. If you're on your champagne shit, then grab your glass and hold it in the air. Pour it up like you just don't care. Because, honey, Kansas City got some sugar honey iced tea going on. Ciao. But welcome to the secret chalet located in Champagne City, baby, for the Empress Speaks. I'm the Empress, and over here it is never our intention to tear down or berate. We do, however, discuss actions and behaviors, and we sip on a little something while doing it. We give classy with a twist, a little clink with chaos. So if you're ready to sip, savor, and spill, then come on in. And for my non-alcoholic confidants, go ahead and grab a non-alcoholic bubbly and get in here because we need to have a discussion. And make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you will be notified when we drop a new show. So for what I'm sipping on today, I am sipping on Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio. I like to try different wines, so today I'm trying the Santa Margherita. So, now for our story. So I heard this story a day or so ago on News Nation, and I must say I am confused, befuddled, perplexed, and a whole lot of other words that I dare not mention. This story involves 6 people, in my opinion. But there are 2 other people in this story that also brought me concern. So, on the screen you have David Harrington, who was found in the backyard. Clayton McGeaney, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was another gentleman in the backyard. You have Ricky Johnson, who was also in the backyard. And you have Jordan Willis, who is living. It's the friend's house they were at. You have an unidentified 5th male. And also I want to add into this story the fiance. And you're going to understand why as I continue on. So here's the timeline. January 7th, David Harrington, Clayton McGeaney, Ricky Johnson go to Jordan Willis's house to watch the game, or after the game, some have said. Either way it goes, they end up at Jordan's house. According to Jordan's attorney, the attorney claims that he said goodbye to his friends, 2 of whom he's known since high school, then crashed on the couch. A short time later, he says he went upstairs to bed, leaving the doors unlocked. The three men, he says, must have returned to the property at some stage and went outside in the backyard. There was a fifth man in the home on this night in question, a buddy who Willis says left earlier, and Willis is Jordan. So this buddy left earlier than the other three men. Now, there's no information that I have been seeing has been made public about this gentleman. For 2 days, the families of the victims say they bombarded Willis's phone with calls and Facebook messages asking where their loved ones were, but Willis never responded. So 2 days would be the 7th of January through the 9th. Now, I'm not sure about y'all, but on the 7th, I would have been at that house. I don't know about y'all, but if I'm expecting my significant other to be back home on the 7th, me, a group of people, or the police are at the house trying to figure out what's going on. Not 2 days later, but we're going to get into that. It's reported that the fiance of one of the men went to the house and broke in and found the body of one of the men on the back porch. Now, this triggered my inner investigation discovery, right? And I have so many more unanswered questions to this, but we'll get into that in a second. She notifies the police, and the police show up and find 2 other bodies. Now, before I get into my concerns, one of the friends of these gentlemen posted this, that he, speaking of Jordan, was inside his home alive while my friends were dead and unalived in his yard for Lord knows how long. They were all hanging out since after the game Sunday. He knew people were looking for them, she wrote. He read the messages of the people searching for him on Tuesday. She says, my husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. My friend banged on his door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence while she's inside, and still nothing from him. Then the cops come 10 minutes later, and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in his hand. So the attorney did an interview with News Nation, but he left us with more questions and no answers. So the attorney was asked about drugs, if there was any drugs involved, and the attorney declined to answer due to client-attorney privilege, basically. So then the attorney said that there was a 5th person there, but the attorney would not give any information on this individual, stating he is cooperating with the police and that his story matches Jordan's. So then the attorney is asked if Jordan left his house, and he states that he stayed at home because he works from home. It was a little conflicting because I do remember somewhere later on in the interview him saying that he was in and out the house. So it's kind of weird kind of how the attorney is coming off in this too, like he doesn't quite have his story together or something. But he also states that Jordan saw the guys leave and then he crashed on his couch and just left his doors unlocked. He was asked if he showed them to the door, and he stated it's not that formal, but he saw them leave the home. This was another conflicting statement because the attorney had actually stated that Jordan let them out the house. And when he was re-questioned, he turned around and said, no, it wasn't that formal. You know, he just saw them leave. So this attorney just isn't quite helping this situation. So he says that Jordan feels they came back in the house to hang out, play the game or whatever, and somehow must have gone out into the backyard. He said that he saw them leave out the front door. They must have come back in, hung out a little bit, and went out into the backyard. Now, this is according to the attorney. So I looked up at what temperature can a person freeze to the point they're no more. And according to Leisure Co., and I have their website on the screen, your body will freeze in external temperatures a little below the freezing temperature of water, which is about 32 degrees Fahrenheit. However, you can most certainly be unalive before that. I really hate you got to be careful with these words, but you can most certainly pass away before that. Passing away of the cold can happen whenever severe or profound hypothermia kicks in, right? Which can happen before your body technically freezes. So, according to the website, typically you are at some risk of hypothermia whenever the external temperature drops below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but several factors can either reduce or worsen this. So I also looked at Backfire TV, and their website is also on the screen. Now, according to them, people can freeze to the point of passing at any temperature under 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Most hypothermia unalivings occur in temperatures from 50 and 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Most cold weather unalives are from days of exposure or short-term exposure to cold temperatures in wet conditions, right? It also goes on to say generally either the fingers or toes go first. An aching or burning pain in the fingers, toes, or ears is a sign that you are experiencing chilblains, the precursor to frostnip. Frostnip is when the inner layers of skin begin to freeze, and it means frostbite is not far behind. So I also took a look at the State Journal Registrar, and Dr. Jeff Hirsch breaks up hypothermia into 3 stages. Now, remember, all of this is determined by your body temperature. So it says normal body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Lower than this is hypothermia. Although failure to produce enough body heat due to certain medical conditions can occur, by far the most common cause of hypothermia is excess heat loss. This can happen due to cold exposure without proper insulation to prevent excess radiant heat loss. It is even more pronounced when there is an additional conductive heat loss, body heat carried away by direct contact with something cold, most commonly from cold water immersion, right? So it goes on to say, in order to understand this, he gives examples of water. Since the body temperature is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, immersion in water colder than this can result in hypothermia. The colder the water, the faster the heat loss. So immersion in water that is 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit can cause a person to pass in 2 to 40 hours. 50 to 60 degrees can cause this in 1 to 6 hours. 40 to 50 degrees can cause this in 1 to 3 hours. 32 to 40 degrees can cause this in 30 to 90 minutes. And 32 degrees or less can cause this in as little as 15 to 45 minutes. Now, this is if you add water into the mix. But from what we know for now, these individuals were not immersed in water before going outside. So then it goes on to talk about the stages of hypothermia. And he states that he breaks down hypothermia into 3 stages. So stage 1, hypothermia, is labeled as the body temperature dropping to between 95 and 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So people with this mild drop in body temperature will feel cold and begin to shiver, although they are able to stop shivering if they try. The victim may feel nausea and their dexterity will diminish, making complex tasks difficult. Treatment is to get out of the cold and get warmed up. For stage 2 hypothermia, this is when the temperature drops in the body between 90 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is considered a medical emergency. People with this have a drop in body temperature that would usually show with violent shivering, and they will not have control over their shivering. Their muscle coordination will be poor with slow labored movements. They are often confused. These symptoms may make them seem drunk. Treatment is to bring them out of the cold and to begin rewarming while arranging emergency medical care. In hypothermia, the body does not in fact die by freezing. The human body will not freeze before life has ended. So then it brings us to stage 3 hypothermia. And this is where the temperature is less than 90 degrees. And this is a critical condition with a high mortality rate. Once the body temperature drops this low, the patient's shivering response stops. They will be very confused, even delirious, and their muscle coordination becomes so limited they are unable to walk. Their exposed skin will be blue, puffy, and fragile. Victims with such low body temperature are at risk for heart arrhythmias, which can be fatal. Even with prompt medical treatment, 20% or more of patients with body temperatures that are under 90 degrees Fahrenheit will pass away. Once body temperature drops to the low 80s, mortality climbs above 50%. Patients with more advanced stages of hypothermia may exhibit a paradoxical undressing, where they incorrectly think they are getting too warm, so they take clothing off. This behavior is so common in advanced stages that mountain rescuers are trained to look for it. As the body temperature goes down, body fail-safes keep the core warm at the expense of the skin, limbs, nose, etc. But in time, these mechanisms break down and cold blood fills the body core. At the lower blood temperature, enzymes needed to carry out the life functions begin to fail, and those functions begin to halt. The chemical changes that turn into unaliving are also impeded by cold. So the passing does not occur rapidly, but as life goes into suspended animation, the temperature goes down further, faster, until the body no longer functions. In other words, this does not happen right away. It takes time. So you mean to tell me no one heard these men struggling outside? No one saw them in distress, huh? And within this time, none of them attempted to go back in the house? There's nothing in the backyard, but they were found, one on the back porch and the other 2 in the backyard. And the police don't suspect anything wrong with this scenario. So let's get into my concerns, right? Number 1, there were 5 people at this house. 3 were unalived. 1 supposedly left earlier, and 1 is absolutely clueless. The second point of concern is Jordan, the one that's still alive, states the three men left his house and he collapsed on the couch asleep. You didn't lock a door. You didn't hear cars pull off. You just saw them out the house and immediately was asleep. Three men end up unalive in the backyard, frozen to death. Now, when I looked into it, under normal conditions, if the body feels cold and stiff, then the passing occurred between 8 to 36 hours earlier, right? It also states that cold temperatures will slow down this process. So here are my first set of questions, right? What time did they allegedly leave out of Jordan's house? The first time. Because according to him, it's his belief that they left and came back. So what time did they leave Jordan's house the first time? That's my first question. Their cars, I think two of them at least, were still outside. So they left out the house and all decided, nah, we're not going to leave. We're going to go into the backyard. Like, make this make sense. There's nothing back there from the pictures. So why would they go back there? Why? Now, if they came back in the house as Jordan surmises must have happened, why didn't he know? Didn't he say he fell asleep on the couch, according to the attorney? So, how long was he on his couch, and what time did he decide to go to his room? So he left his door unlocked all night, is the other thing they want us to believe. Because he said he left the door unlocked when he laid down on the couch to go to sleep. So you never checked to make sure your door was locked before going to sleep. In this day and age? Question number 2. What did they have on when they were found? We've already read that hypothermia can begin setting in at the temperatures that it was that night in Kansas City with prolonged exposure. So that depends on how they were dressed. So my question would be, what did they have on when they were found? Also, another question I would add to that would be, what did they have on when they left their houses? So this would be a good comparison. Compare what they had on when they left to what they had on when they were found. Is it the same? Because if not, I'd have questions. My other question would be, did they find any footprints? If they did, were they sporadic or did they just stop? They did say that they did get some snow, but it wasn't enough to submerge the body. So there should be footprints. Were the footprints sporadic or did they just stop? Now remember, one of the gentlemen was found on the back porch. The other ones were found in the backyard. So I don't know how far away from the house they were found, but still in the backyard. So there should be some footprints, and I would love to know how those footprints were. Then, did they have their car keys on them? If they were leaving, wouldn't they have their car keys in their pockets? So that would be my question. Did they have their car keys on them? Or were their car keys still in the house? And also, did they have their phones on them? If they had their phones on them, did they attempt to make a phone call? Send a text? Possibly? What time did the phone stop? Like, when did the phone shut off because they died or froze? What time was that? Did they have all of their belongings there, signifying that they were leaving? If I'm leaving someone's house, unless I'm extremely drunk, I'm gonna have everything that I came there with. So what was found on them that belonged to them that would have signified they were leaving Jordan's house? Here's my problem with the police, right? Even with all the questions that I have asked above, why do they not suspect foul play? Without even going further into any of the rest of my questions yet, because I do have more, how do 3 men freeze in the snow with an unlocked house that they just came out of and their cars in the front? So it wasn't like they had to stand outside and wait on an Uber. And it takes time for a person to freeze to death unless they were already gone. Now that's my opinion. They froze because they were already gone. But let's continue. Now, it took 2 whole days for anyone to realize they were just laying in the backyard deceased, right? Now this fence is not that high, and there are neighbors that are next door. Nobody noticed anything, heard anything, saw anything. So they just walked outside and passed away, is the story they want us to digest. 3 grown, healthy men walked outside and passed away at the same time. Couldn't call for help. Couldn't make it back in the house when one of them was on the back porch. Couldn't make it to their cars. Just, we're going to hang out in the backyard in the cold. Now, according to the friend from her post, she says her husband went to the house and banged on the door for 20 minutes. And my question is, did the husband go to the back of the house to check or just knocked on the front door? If you look closely at the pictures, the house has 4 doors: a front door, a side door, a back door, and a patio door. Which one of them did you knock on? Were you by yourself when you went and knocked on these doors? Did you attempt to call the police when you went to the house and no one answered? Were the cars still outside when you made it there? Then it goes on to say that the fiance of one of the men went to the house and broke in and found a body on the back porch. And here's where I have problems, right? Now, the friend's husband only went and knocked on the door for 20 minutes. Did any neighbors hear this? Because if I'm searching for my friend and I'm banging on that door, baby, the whole neighborhood is going to hear me. So, did anyone come outside and ask what's going on? I mean, is this Vivarium, the movie? Nobody heard nothing the night all of this took place. And here 2 days later, and still nobody hears you banging on this door. Number one, my question for the fiance is, did she go by herself? And what woman is going to go to another man's house and break in by themselves and enter the house by themselves? What woman? I understand this is your boo, the love of your life and everything. But if the man had sense enough, the husband had sense enough not to go in the house, you go back by yourself and break into another man's house. It didn't say she had a weapon on her, but it said she broke in and walked around and announced herself, but there was no answer. So you're in this man's house that everybody's saying they really didn't know, walking around by yourself, no mention of a weapon. How long was she in this house? I mean, how long was this walkthrough before she went to the patio where she found the body? Did she just walk around downstairs? Was there an upstairs? Did she go upstairs? You just went in and went to the backyard? Because you really didn't need to go in the house to get to the backyard. Look at the picture. There's a space between the house and the fence right here. You see it circled, right? So you did not need to break into the house in order to get to the backyard. So my question is, did you attempt to walk around the house before you attempted to break in the house? Listen, as a woman, I'm not going to enter a house where I know a man lives alone. I don't know if he has a weapon or what. Let's not forget this man is a scientist. And according to the attorney, he works from home. So you don't know what's in there. But let's continue. Now, I don't know if she called the police from inside the residence or if she ran out and called the police, but I'd love to know what her condition was like. Like, I'd love to hear the 911 call, to hear exactly what she said to the police. I'm not saying she's guilty or in on it. What I'm saying is, it sounds suspicious. I'd also like to know which door she went out of and noticed the body on the patio. Because if she went out the back door, she should have seen the other two bodies laying there. So, according to the story, the police show up and they find the other two bodies. Now, according to the friend, Jordan didn't make a sound or a noise while the fiance was roaming around this house. And when she announced herself, so he heard nothing, allegedly. But then when the police show up and knock on the door 10 minutes later, he answers the door in his boxers with a glass of wine. Say what? Come on now. So the fiance just left your residence to call the police, and now you're in your boxers drinking wine. Nothing about this story adds up. And for the police to say they don't suspect foul play, baby, how? 3 healthy men freeze to death in 33 to 36 degree weather. A 4th man left early. I really wonder what time he left. No one heard or saw anything. They just went outside and laid down. Not together, but in different positions, and passed away. 2 days later, a friend shows up. No answer. And then the fiance shows up, breaks in, enters the home. I'm going to say by herself because no one else was mentioned with her. And she found one of the men on the back porch, and she calls the police. They've supposedly been friends since high school, at least 2 of them at least, according to the attorney. Who initiated this get-together? Huh? Did Jordan call them and tell them to come over after the game? How often do they go to Jordan's house? And the 5th person, why aren't they contacting the family and saying anything? Have they attempted to contact Jordan to find out what happened? Did this person know these other 3 gentlemen? Did he know everyone? And my last question for this 5th individual is, why did they leave early? Like, there are so many questions and no answers. Now, one of the moms said that she thinks they were poisoned, allegedly. And I would be allegedly inclined to agree with her. Were they trying to escape but couldn't make it out the front door, so they ran out the back where they succumbed? Was the person found at the door the last to try to escape but couldn't make it past the porch? I have so many questions, and the police need to give answers. I pray for the families of these men who have been lost, and I hope there is justice. Drop in the comments and tell me what you think about this story. I think I may do a follow-up to this story when and if more information comes out. Because again, remember, the police do not suspect foul play. So we don't know what's going to happen next. Confidants, if it doesn't cause you to elevate, it's causing you to depreciate. Now raise your glasses, clink, and let's drink till we meet again. Ta-ta.